Hey everyone, I'm sharing my 5 tips to consider before you start hinge cutting. You don't want to miss it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Ryan Nordahl here, Epic Whitetail Habitat LLC. The weather's going to start warming up. Tomorrow here in west central Wisconsin, it's supposed to be near 50 degrees. So I'm really excited. We've been in the upper 30s to low 40s here the last couple of days. So, that means that perhaps the sap in the tree isn't as crystallized as it was last week. Last week we were considerably cold. We were below zero for the better part of the week, even for daytime high temperatures. I don't like hinge cutting at that time, when the temperatures are that extreme. Number one, it's cold. Not that I don't like the cold at all. I absolutely love the cold. I can tolerate it. I love it a lot better than when it's hot and sticky out in the summertime. I can always put more layers on if I have to and dress warm. You get in the sunshine and out of the wind, boy, you can stay toasty warm even in the most extreme cold conditions. I love the cold, but I'm not hinge cutting then. What I am doing, if it is cold like that, I'm considering doing some logging and timber harvest at that time. Logging and timber harvest is always one of the first things I recommend if it's possible on a client property or even my own properties too. I always consider and think about, can I make some money off of this? Because logging and timber harvest can help offset any other improvements, whether we're planting trees, doing our food plots, whatever. It can help offset the cost and can even pay for a lot of the cost, especially when it comes down to installing our food plots in the spring through the summer, whether it's, our warm season food plots or a cold season fall food plots for hunting season. A timber harvest can help offset that. It can help, pay the taxes for the year on your property if you own it. It can help pay that lease if you're leasing a property too. It's probably going to go to the landowner, so let me back that up. You want to talk to your landowner about that. It's going to help reduce his taxes. It's going to help that regeneration, that hardwood regeneration that we're looking for, that woody browse that deer absolutely need and love. They need it. It's the basis of their diet. Everybody thinks green food plots, and that's okay. And I want you to have green food plots on your property, no matter the size of your property. A green food source is always great. Woody browse is the most essential part of a deer's diet. They're a ruminant animal. They need that forage and that roughage in their rumen to help balance the bacteria in that gut. Just like a cow. My background, for those of you that don't know me, is dairy farming. Ruminant animals, cows. Love it. Love deer. And that's how they work. They need that roughage. And when it comes to hinge cutting, that's what we're doing too. We're instantly putting browse, woody browse, browse that they love, right at their nose, right now, instantly. Even on a timber harvest, we're doing that as well. But the thing is, when it comes to hinge cutting, the goal behind it is to try to keep that tree alive as long as possible and producing leaves, producing buds year after year that those deer relate to and that they prefer, species that they prefer, be it maple, elm, and hackberry is in that elm family. Some oak, a little bit of oak. I've seen them, nip on new shoots, a red oak. So you want to consider that timber harvest first and cutting larger trees first if there isn't a timber harvest. Might be considered junk trees. Hackberry and elm aren't necessarily great logging trees at all. And there's other species out there that aren't necessarily, and I tell you what, even the preferred, timber sale trees, your oaks, your cherries, your maples, not every one of them is going to make a saleable log. If there's burls on your cherry trees, if they're crooked, if they're arched over. I've seen a lot of white oak. I've got a lot of white oak on the proving grounds that are arched over. They're never going to make log trees. So getting those larger trees out of the way, you know, especially if I got a nice straight tree that's coming along right beside it, I want to get that one out of the way that's arched over. I want to completely get him out of the way. Now, always remember, when it comes to doing any of this on your own, safety is the most important. Wearing the proper safety equipment, you know, gloves, chaps, chainsaw resistant gloves, chaps, eye protection, face shield, helmet with a face shield and ear protection. You know, I even go the extra mile and I'll put in earplugs along with my earmuffs just to, you know, my hearing is going, but I'm going to try to preserve what little hearing I have left. And, you know, if you have the least bit of hesitation whatsoever, guys such as myself and other guys that are in the industry, we offer these services. So if you have any hesitation, any doubt that you can do any of the work yourself, get a hold of us. You know, what's it worth to you to have this all done? Is it worth paying somebody that little extra premium money? You'd be surprised the number of guys that call me every year this time of year looking for my assistance, at least my assistance, if not full service, to come and do the jobs. Having the right tools for the job is also important. Having the right tools, having a sharp chain on your chainsaw. You know, I even do a lot of handsaw work, taking the smaller trees. And a handsaw is really important. You get those trees down on the ground, you know, you got to go open it up, getting those little limbs out of the way. If there's a tree that you want to leave that's going over a travel corridor or anything, I'm getting in there, not down on my hands and knees with my chainsaw, because that can be dangerous. That can be very dangerous doing that. So I've got my handsaw. Handsaw is a very vital tool when it comes to hinge cutting. Habitat hook, so vitally important. People are, you know, and I see that so often where they're taking that angle cut because they want that tree to fall. I get it. I understand why you're doing it, but it's also very dangerous. Plus, it's not very efficient. It's more efficient to take a parallel cut, parallel to the ground. You're cutting through less wood. You take that angle cut, you're setting yourself up for disaster taking that angle cut. But you're also using more gasoline through your chainsaw, gas and bar oil, cutting that angle because you're cutting through more wood. You take that parallel to the ground, you're cutting less wood, less time, and you get more done in a day. Wedges and a good maul hammer. You know, I've got a 2 and 3 pound hammer that I lug along on my tool belt, and helps me, you know, because we're not cutting these trees very far when we're hinge cutting. We're only cutting about halfway, a little over halfway. And those wedges help me get the angle I need, so then I can get my habitat hook on there and really push or pull it down. Pulling them down, if I'm pulling any trees down, I can guarantee you there's small trees that I can gently drop down without the risk of injuring myself severely or worse. You got to know what you're doing. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. It's my 11th season, I think, that I've been doing hinge cutting. And yes, I've been put in some dangerous situations, but hey, I'm blessed enough where I'm athletic enough, I can get the heck out of the way. When I'm hinge cutting a tree, even if I'm flush cutting and face cutting a tree, however you want to say it, I'm getting the heck out of Dodge when that tree goes to fall. I'm not just standing there and waiting for it to fall, because that's when disaster can strike. Doing some of these soft maples and they barber chair, that's a dangerous thing, and they're gonna barber chair on you. These soft silver maples and stuff, it happens all the time. Don't worry about it. It's putting structure down on the ground, but you have to be aware that it's gonna happen. And that's why I say leave it to the professionals if there's the least bit of hesitation, because there is a danger factor in it. I'm not gonna deny it. I will not deny that. But you got to be able to get out of the way. Don't just stand there and watch a tree fall, because that's when things can happen. At the end of the day, your family, your friends, they want you to come home. So I'm not promoting that you go out and do it if you've never done it before. And the benefits of hinge cutting, they outweigh people promoting hack and squirt, bar none. I don't want to be sitting in my tree stand come fall and looking at a bunch of dead trees, or if I'm turkey hunting late in the spring at leaf out, I don't want to be sitting there in the turkey woods looking at a bunch of dead trees that are doing absolutely nothing other than they're defoliated, and yes, they're allowing sunlight. But that tree can fall anywhere at any given time, in any position, not where I want it to be. It's of no good to any deer other than just putting structure on the ground. With hinge cutting, I'm putting structure on the ground. I'm placing that tree without fighting tree lean. I'm placing that tree exactly where I want it to be. The goal behind it is, and I'm not saving every single one because they will snap off. Eventually, a lot of them will die. That's just a reality we all have to face, but we're trying to keep as many of those trees alive as we possibly can to produce ample forage from day one until 2, 3. I've got quite a few maples that I've hinge cut that are still producing forage to this day, browse to this day. Well, what about the shoots? What about the stump sprouts when they start? I'm going back. It's like anything. You have to maintain the work that you do. You don't just plant your food plots and forget about it. There's maintenance involved. There's maintenance involved with everything. You don't just go out and plant your trees and be done with it. If it gets dry, newly planted trees, they need to be watered. You know, you go in, you clear cut with a logging or timber harvest. You still got to go in after a year or two, open up trails so deer can move through it easily. Creating bedding pockets, stuff like that. Everybody thinks, you know, it's ugly or it's a one and done thing. I went in, I hinge cut, and I'm all done. I don't have to do anymore. Everything worth having takes maintenance. It takes work year after year. That's the one thing I want to get clear. You can't just go in, hinge cut an area, and expect that you're done. The deer will take care of themselves. They have to be maintained year after year, just like your access trails and everything need to be maintained. So do your hinge cut bedding areas. So those are 5 things that I want you to consider before you start hinge cutting on your property, if hinge cutting is even the right fit on your property this year. Thanks for joining me. Stay safe out there. Have fun doing it. And guys, keep living that dream. And hey, as I said before, if you need help or just want to talk some strategy, email me, shoot me a text message, or give me a phone call. I'll leave my contact information. And any of the products or tools you've seen me use in this video, you can always find links in the description below if you want to check them out. I greatly appreciate you guys and your support. Thank you.